Can you send to me what you sent to the IT people for today's meeting? Oh, you know what? I think we're good because I was worried that nobody's shown up, but people are now showing up. All right, bye.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Cardone. I need to speak to your wife while we're waiting. I need this copy of the hockey sheets from yesterday. Let her know.
Let me go wake her up and let her know.
You should. I know. Were you with her last night? I heard why you guys missed, and I'll just leave it at that, or why she missed. I'm assuming you were with her, but
I didn't know. I didn't hear we missed. I was actually at Eric Clapton last night at the Garden.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But you missed the game because you were.
Yeah.
At a concert. Eric Clapton. No, I didn't hear that. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. He's 77 now, so you know what I mean how many turns around he's got, so. But then again,
well, that's good. No, I saw Sting last or 2 Fridays ago, and just same thing, fantastic. I mean, he's over 70, he's like 72 or something, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Did you see him? And then I'll stop. Sorry, and let the meeting happen. But did you see him up at the amphitheater? Or that amphitheater is phenomenal. If you guys haven't been there, the one in Bridgeport, the new one that they opened about a year ago, they did a nice job. So
yeah, I was there actually Friday night too. They had, I'm going to date myself here. They had REO Speedwagon, Styx, and Loverboy.
Which Styx group was it? Was it Dennis DeYoung or was it the other group part?
No, it's the other group part. They kicked out Dennis DeYoung, I'm going to say at least 30 years ago. Like, he did Mr. Roboto with them, that whole wacky album, kind of dark and all that. And they were like, yeah, this guy's too dark for us. And they kind of pushed him off to the side. So
I saw him, I don't know how many years ago it was. Met him.
Oh.
After the concert.
Nice.
There you go.
But he won't take pictures with women unless his wife is in between him and the woman.
There you go.
Wow.
Well, a friend of mine has talked me into going to see Eric Clapton at the Garden tonight. Not something I normally do, but I was told you're going, and that's an order. So.
You'll like it. It was a good show, John. I saw him last night.
Oh, you did? Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
All right. That's good.
Yeah.
Just 1 minute here. All right, why don't we go ahead and call call this meeting of the Board of Selectmen IT Steering Committee to order for Monday, September 19th. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming today. Hope everybody had a good summer and looking forward to getting back to work, as I don't think I ever stopped working, but anyway, that's probably true for most of you on the call. So as we've done in our prior meetings, I'd like to kind of go through our subcommittee, see where we are on some of the idea generation and work that's being done in that regard. Let's get a sense from you folks as to how things are going and what we can do next to move along to some recommendations. I see Jeff Krause on here. Jeff, we'll just start with you this morning.
Okay, sounds good, John. Well, our subcommittee met a couple of times. We have 4 draft policies that we've been focused on getting across the finish line. These were both in either early draft form, up to 2 years ago by Jeff and team and others, and we've added and refined and adapted them to be specific to Darien. We've also collected up other, so for the software procurement policy, we had none in place, we had none in process. And so we went out and kind of looked around at some corollaries in other municipalities and other schools and education institutions for that policy and pulled that in, adapted it for where we are. We've been through one review as a subcommittee of the full, after we've compiled these 4 policies together and come to basically the full team here who have broad experience in IT to offline or today, if you have comments, give any feedback on the 4 policies that we have. The 4 policies that we can talk about, and I'll be brief here to the amount of time we want to devote to it, but are vulnerability assessment and management, security incident prevention and response, acceptable use of Darien IT systems, and the software procurement policy. Without going into line by line detail, the first 2 policies have to do with our first overall on an umbrella. We have many practices in place where we kind of review software and we do vulnerability assessments. A lot of the practices are in place. We really just don't have an overarching guideline that says this is why we have these practices in place, and this is the standard to which we should be driving toward for these practices. So that's what the purpose of putting these policies in place is to give a North Star for what we're trying to achieve. For that reason, the policies aren't detailed in terms of, in some cases, how they should be implemented, but they establish a standard for the full town. Vulnerability assessment and management is the fact that for all of our IT systems, we conduct vulnerability assessment and management so that we know on at least an annual basis where vulnerabilities are. It establishes a class of critical systems where for any critical system, we do that review and assessment up to quarterly. The system outlined as kind of the stereotypically critical would be our financial system of expenditures and income. And it establishes that we do assessments on a regular basis of all of our IT systems. The second policy is security incident management. And security incident management, when a breach or a suspected breach happens, that everybody and anyone that works with the town of Darien, either as an employee, as a volunteer, as a vendor or contractor, or as an elected official, lets the IT team know. It establishes a practice for or a policy for how you should be letting the town know, and it outlines a series of examples that are considered data or security breaches that we should be on the lookout for. The third policy is an acceptable use policy. Acceptable use is establishing the guidelines for what it's okay to do on Darien IT systems. And this is a fairly standard practice to have in most organizations, what you can do, what you can't do with using town email or town systems. And it's pretty straightforward in terms of what you would expect in terms of the things that you should or should not be doing on our systems. The third, but it's important to establish that as a fact in terms of what we expect out of those who use our systems. And the last policy is a software procurement policy. The software procurement policy says that all purchases of software by the use or for the use of the town of Darien and any of its departments or overseen bodies have to be approved or reviewed and approved by the town IT director and by the town administrator. And then it before making any expenditure on them, kind of quite simply. So, and then it establishes the why we would do that and what are the criteria that we would use to review these IT purchases. It's not simply because we believe there's a different software package that might do the same thing, but it's to maintain consistency and compatibility with our hardware systems. We don't want the purchase of a new software system, which is necessary and useful, to depend on a large capital expenditure of a bunch of hardware that happens to be incompatible with the new or proposed software system. So the harmonizing and the giving the visibility to IT systems purchases is the intent of the policy. So that's kind of a 30,000 foot view of it. I would ask Kate, in describing what those policies are and what we're trying to do, what did I miss?
I don't think you missed anything. I think you did a very good job.
Okay.
And I think you've been a good leader for our group.
Thank you. Thank you. So we've got 4 policies. We were hoping to bring them to all of you today with a bow on top of them to say, well, don't even read them, just go ahead and approve them. We really can't do that, and we know that you've all seen more of these policies than the 3 of us have. So we are looking for your guidance and your input into what we missed in these policies, other things that you think are either antiquated or that we should pull out. So we'd take any feedback now, but it's probably best, go ahead right up to editing the documents and sending them back to me.
Yeah, the only thing I might ask is on the third policy for acceptable use. Does the policy lay out what the enforcement or monitoring of that looks like? So in other words, what employees should expect or acknowledge that the town has the power to do to monitor usage to make sure that we stick to that policy?
Well, it does in terms of the policy outlines, first off, that all employees in particular have to acknowledge, all employees and users of our systems have to acknowledge that there is an acceptable use policy. So that's a part of and we discussed how that would be implemented. We have other policies that employees and contractors have to approve as they're acknowledge that they've had. It does, and then it outlines in very vague terms what the implications of breaching the policy would be, and I'm just pulling it up here right now to make sure that I can understand it. And so, but it doesn't. So it talks about what the potential implications of breach of the policy might be, but it does not say, it doesn't go into details about how we might monitor for the breach of acceptable use, if that makes sense as a distinction. So, and the up to, the implications of it are, up to affecting employment.
Okay. And will there be a general communication, I guess, strategy for all this that'll include things like training, so it's not just acknowledgement, but people know kind of how to think about, for example, a breach or suspected breach. It'll be described in the document, but is there a plan to have a training or anything like that, either initially to roll these out or ongoing or just for new employees, or how do you guys think about that?
Several different layers. First off, the next topic after getting the policies in place is actually a broad is understanding what are the training resources and how do we get those in place. So we've got that on our agenda to pick up in the next couple of weeks after we're through with the policy level. Then Kate, I'd hand over to you in terms of as if we were to recommend the adoption of these or on implementation, what would you imagine to be kind of that first salvo of education and communication?
I think we'd want to do something different with the acceptable use. Like you said, people have to sign it. Education, I'll say with the employee guide, beyond requiring that employees sign and acknowledge that they are responsible for knowing what's in it. I'm not really sure that we need to go beyond that with the acceptable use guide. People are adults and they need to be responsible, for their actions. So I think we would have to get it. It's the distribution that might be the challenge, getting it out to everybody, make it available on the web, send it out to chairmen of committees and boards. I think that's the work, getting it out there.
I think we'd have to have we'd have to build that communication strategy, as these are kind of new policies. I think the software procurement policy is going to, we're going to want to double click on that so that everyone's really aware that this is kind of a change in both policies and in expected practices, so that the finance community knows that it's got to be approved before it goes through. So.
Right. And I think, that one for the boards and all, it's not really an issue. Just, it's most important that they know that we have it. For staff, it's something that I can introduce at a staff meeting as part of the budget process, put that reminder out there. And because Jen's office has to approve purchase orders before they're given out, they'd be able to clue us in if they see something coming in to make sure that the process was followed.
Yeah, this is terrific work. I really appreciate it. Anybody have any other questions for Jeff?
What's a deadline, Jeff, that you want the feedback by, so I can kind of go through and...
Let's go a week from today.
Okay, thank you.
Terrific. Okay, again, thank you. David, how about your committee?
Yeah, so we met as a subcommittee a couple of weeks ago at this point. Allison and I were honestly the only people available from our small subcommittee. We talked about basically the concept of how outsourcing potentially could work. To back up a step, I also met with Jim a little bit and talked to him just to get some numbers and some understanding. We're going to have, I hope, another meeting next week just to kind of go through the services that a company can provide with, honestly, one of the sales folks from my company, not to commit to anything, obviously, or just to kind of round out what we think makes sense to outsource. And to do that, we need to understand what's possibly available to do it. We'll then take that too, and Allison brought up a good point that if we, truly do go down the road, and we talk to the whole committee first of getting bids or getting costs for things to do that, we probably need to talk to multiple vendors, and so I'll need to understand probably some of it being the policies we were just discussing, kind of the best practices for that. As well as, and then Jim and I also, when we had just a side conversation, talked a little bit about how other towns are doing it, and I'll probably do some type of comparison matrix between what we have and what our typical comparable towns have. So we're moving forward, not quite at the pace of Jeff, but but definitely progress is being made, and I expect we'll have a pretty decent report, I hope, by next month. So
it sounds like you're looking at companies and the various services that could be provided in terms of outsourcing. Do you have a sense for the types of activities that appear to be good candidates for outsourcing, irrespective of the service availability outside?
It's a lot of the basic administrative functions, like the setting up of accounts, the maintaining of the, we really need multi-factor authentication turned on for everybody, like even us as volunteers. Maintaining of the basic software, making sure, again, things are backed up and secure. Obviously, there's antivirus. There's, I think, basic security products that could run across everybody's computer, anybody who's using a personal computer, or if you're using a home, everybody's using a town computer. If you're using a home computer, there are basic checks that should happen before you can even get into the town information. So it seems like it's just the basic low level administration is where is kind of the easy answer, the low hanging fruit, as they say, to do this, because that is time that the team's taken. That, again, it's clicking buttons, and anybody can do that. The nice thing that the IT staff should be focused on is stuff that's specific to Darien, and software and services that are specific to the town. And so you can outsource, again, a lot of the easy, simple, repetitive stuff.
Got it. Okay. Any questions for David? Okay. Thank you. That's also very good progress. I appreciate it. So Holly's next up. She is tied up on some work matters and said it was iffy if she would be able to make our call today, but I know Jeremy, you and Rob are on the phone and have worked on that committee as well. I'm not sure kind of where things stand, or if you guys had anything to report. If not, that's certainly fine, but what do you think?
Well, I can certainly, if everyone can hear me, I can report that we're working on a survey covering a number of topics. And I know everyone in the committee started reviewing it, Rob, Jeff Adams, myself, in terms of the types of questions we're going to ask, the topics, the issues that we want to touch upon. Got to get a sense of from folks. I remember, Rob, one of the questions was on training. How do people get their training? What do they want from training? What do they need from training? Are we meeting their expectations there? That's one that really struck me. Again, what we're rethinking is the IT department, Jeff and his team, what they do now. Are there gaps? Are there things that we can do better? And what are the expectations of current staff, volunteers, users of the system? What are they looking for? And what are their expectations? What are we providing? Is there overlap? Are there gaps? What can we do better? What can we do differently? Jeff, or Rob, does that seem to cover it?
Yeah, I think you covered everything, Jeremy, on that. That's getting us up to speed. Yeah, I think next time, I'm going to throw my 2 cents in here. I think next time we meet, we'll kind of finalize that when all 4 of us are there, and then we can kind of send a draft to this committee for final review. That's kind of where I feel like it stands right now.
Right, that's the key, is our committee looking at it, giving it to the full group, and then figuring out from there who will get such a survey and what the expectations are from people who fill it out and complete it. What are we looking to get from the answers, and what would be the next steps based on their answers?
I really like the idea of a survey. It strikes me that efficiency thoughts and suggestions are really going to come from people who are right at the coalface of some of this stuff and working with it every day. Because as soon as you ask the question, I'm going to think, this one thing that I do every day or do periodically, God, is that slow and inefficient? If we could fix that one thing, it'd be fantastic. I think if you surface those and then rank order them by degree or breadth of pain, why and of course, to the extent that we can tackle the inefficiency, I think could be some real wins, even if it's just 1 or 2 items. So that's a tremendous idea. Can you re-forward that survey? It's gotten buried in all my emails and I've missed it. I'd love to take a look at it. Maybe Rob or Jeremy, if you could just send that to me, I'll be happy to provide some input.
Yeah, John, I'll get that to you.
Okay. Tremendous. So next is Sean. I know he's also been working and is not able apparently to make it today, but I think Jennifer, you're on that group with Sean as well as you, Jim. Would you guys have anything to maybe add as an update?
Sure, I can give an update. What we've done is we previously, a couple of years ago, before COVID, had put together which departments are accepting credit card payments, online payments, that kind of thing, what their volume was, what their number of transactions, and then what is being charged to us as fees. So we started looking at that, and Sean was going through and kind of calculating, okay, if we could move a particular system to our cheapest processor, what are the potential savings that we could see? So we started looking at that, but what we'll need to do is really research which of our systems would allow us to change processors. Some are only working with a specific processor, so we might not be able to change all of them, but that's where we're starting our review.
Got it. Jim, reactions?
Well, I Jen's hit it right on. You know, we're definitely that's our next step. Like she mentioned, I know for Park and Rec, for instance, we use a software company, and they, for, you know, whether you sign up for a program or reserve a paddle court or whatever, they're the processor as well, that software company. So you know, we're going to have to take a deeper dive into the other systems to see what we can and we can't do, to see if there's any cost savings there.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I might say on it is that of kind of all the committees, I would suggest that maybe this committee might be one that spends a little money, right? Because if I think about just sort of upgrading the citizen experience, if there is something we need to invest in to really change things in terms of making it faster, easier to access, more informative. I don't know what the metric is. And if we had to invest some money, as long as there's kind of a cost benefit sense of all that, we should be okay with spending a little money, especially if the citizens come back and say, wow, things are just a lot better now when you spent that money. So anyway, I think certainly cost savings is good. Given my prior role, I always like to look at ways to save money, but this might be an area where it would be okay to spend some as well. So,
and John, I would absolutely agree with that. I think one thing that we haven't been able to discuss as a group is there are several softwares or providers who can kind of have almost like a cashiering system that will overlay our many department specific systems and allow kind of a one-stop shop for our citizens, put everything into a cart, but then somehow they then communicate back to the individual department systems so that either it can show that a permit is paid or that a registration for Park and Rec is paid. I think we really should investigate those, but I think we would want to engage the services of a consultant or something so that we really get the right one for us, make sure that it's communicating with the department systems as well as with our financial systems, and really is a benefit to our customers.
Yeah, I'd also consider sending an email to every department head in town and just ask this one question, which is to the extent of your interaction with citizens, what is the one thing that we could do that would make a difference in terms of the efficiency or effectiveness of that interaction, and get them all and ask them all to suggest one thing. I'd be interested in looking at that list. Might be kind of interesting, who knows? Okay, any questions for Jim or Jennifer?
I was kind of related to that. I know it was mentioned here quickly a few months ago at this point. What's the deadline for budget stuff? Like, in other words, for this group? Because I think it kind of relates.
Jennifer, you've got specific dates on that. What would you like to see?
So we begin building our budget in the October-November timeframe, and the town administrator puts forward the public town administrator's budget in January. So we would really want to have some solid estimates by early December at the latest.
Yeah, because I think I'll probably be the one putting those into the budget.
Yeah.
So if you can get them to me, you know, like say by December 15th, I can get them in.
Sorry, and where
Ken and I run those things, you know, there's always a little bit of more flexibility for us, but
thank you. It's good to hear. Where can I find the current budget? I'm going to guess that you're going to tell me the town website someplace, but
yes.
Oh, they're actually going to send it to you.
Jen has done a terrific job with getting all that information out there and in pretty user-friendly form.
I can send the website link to everybody.
Yeah. Does it have like I'm looking for like the granularity, like what categories we're spending in today, obviously specifically around software and like Microsoft licenses, that type of thing.
No, I don't think.
One, is there
No,
that?
you wouldn't see specifically,
Right.
we wouldn't put that out at that level of detail. You would be able to see what we spend across all departments on software repair and maintenance through our Open Darien system, but you wouldn't be able to drill down any further than that and see, okay, how much is Microsoft, how much is Munis, how much is the various systems?
Do you need to know that? Because we can.
I'd be interested in that. Yeah.
Okay.
Just more so looking for the categories and understanding. Yeah, that would be really helpful for me if
Yeah, I mean, it's at that granularity that we'd have insight as to whether there's an opportunity to change how we're spending the money. And so I think that's a very good suggestion. I've actually never seen that level of detail, and there might be something revealing in there in terms of how we could make changes. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Okay. Other input? Okay, I think we've also got some minutes to review. I took a look at those. Does anybody have any questions or corrections? I didn't see any that looked okay to me.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes? What was the date of those? Hold on.
August 18th?
Yeah, August 18th. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes? Jeff, second is Rob. All in favor? Okay, those pass. All right, any other business or suggestions, things we need to cover, or Kate or Jen, anything administrative from you guys?
No.
When's our next meeting?
October. Should be like the. Let me get my calendar up.
I think it's the 20th.
Yeah, the 20th is the third Thursday.
Yes, it's the 20th.
Terrific, October 20th. All right then. Very good. I look forward to that. I'll reach out to all the groups as I've done before to see if I can help as we get into October. I think one objective we should have is, like Jeff, you suggested, maybe have these policies in sort of final draft form that we could take a look at and review even in advance of the October meeting. So if it's possible to have some concrete things that we can start to vote on or send out for estimates or that sort of thing, to the extent, depending on the nature of what's recommended, I think that's a great idea. And that gets us to where maybe in November, we could have some things to take to the Board of Selectmen, get their sort of approval. And once that happens, then it can get fed into the budget process. So sound good?
Great.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. Thank you, team. I very much appreciate all this effort. I think we're making great progress and we'll have a lot to show for it real soon. I'll take a motion to adjourn. All right, Rob, second. All right, Jeff, thanks very much. All in favor? All right, we stand adjourned. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks. Thanks, John.
Bye.